So today we are going to talk about Verdaccio. It's a lightweight private NPM proxy registry, and we have Juan with us today. Um, yeah, just give me a minute. Yep, we have Juan with us today. He is a front-end engineer at eBay. He is also a maintainer at Verdaccio. He is based in Berlin, and if you want to follow him on Twitter, you can follow him on Twitter using his handle. My name is Ayush. I work at trivago, and I'm also a contributor and maintainer to Verdaccio. I live in Düsseldorf, and if you want to follow me on Twitter, you follow me using my Twitter handle. So the plan is today that we will start with the problem about registries in the JavaScript ecosystem, and then Juan will give you a brief introduction to Verdaccio. And if we get some time, then we will give you a quick demo and Q&A session. So before we start to talk about Verdaccio, I would like to ask about that what is an NPM registry? Does anyone know like what a registry is and how do you use it in your daily life? What's a registry is? Uh, Anyone? Okay, so NPM registry is a public collection of packages, and it's an open source code which many developers just publish on the NPM, and it can be used by both backend developers and the front-end developers. So how can we install the packages from the registry? So I'm sure most of you know about NPM, and although NPM is the most used manager to install packages, but we have Yarn, and it's created by a group of companies. And we also have a PNPM, which is a open source solution. You can use it, and sometimes they say it's more faster than Yarn. But in the end, it doesn't matter which library or which tool you use to install NPM packages. They just send a request to the registry and get the package for you. So the general workflow looks like this. You do yarn install or npm install in your terminal. It sends a request to the npm registry, and it gets a package for you. And nowadays, like we mostly use npm.js as a registry in our most of the applications. But important thing is here today, like the clients are not that important, but the registries are very important. Like which registries you are currently talking to when you install any package in your JavaScript application. And all the packages like they come from the registry. So let's talk about a private registry. So what a private registry is like, you place something between your application and the public remote, and this public remote can be a npm registry, yarn registry, or a github package registry. And you place the a private registry which will do caching for you, or maybe which will install packages for you from this registry. So the general workflow look like this. When you do yarn install, your request goes to a registry, and then this registry compute the right remote for you, and then it's talk to like various remotes. It gets the updated resource for you, and then this request goes from back to your application. But if you see, like I found this tweet pretty interesting. Like since npm start to be a trend, we based our application architecture like mostly common to be based on public registries, and people are sharing packages, and it's like you are only talking to a single registry, and sometimes this leads to some problems. So now I'll cover some of the most common scenarios and problems which can be solved by having a private registry. So the first problem is like availability. It means when you need something and that thing is not available for you. So just imagine the situation that you love traveling and you are in train, and you decide to work from the train because you are a very committed developer. Then you go to your project directory and update everything from the, maybe in the Git repository, you do like a git pull master and update everything. Then you hit npm install, and you get this beautiful error message in your terminal. After some time, you figure out that your internet is not working. So it's like somebody told me that you should have a cat picture in your presentation. So here is the cat picture. So you are a smart developer. You turn on your personal hotspot and connect your laptop to it. Then you do npm install again, and now you get the another error message. Now you realize that you are having a very rough day. It says that npm is down, and now you are stuck. You cannot work anymore. And it happens in real life as well. Few days back, like npm was down for like 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and when you are totally dependent on public registry or maybe npm registry, you are kind of stuck, and it can put your businesses and everything on risks. Also, sometimes npm is like a company like us, and they also make mistakes. So in the past, some of the npm employees, they removed some important packages from the registry, and some people could not build their application anymore. So now you can think like how much business you can lose if you are directly relying on npm and not using a private registry. The second problem is like it's about the control, or maybe a sharing or like a integration. So like control means how much authorization you have on your packages, and sharing means like what happens when you publish your packages to npm and how they fulfill the compatibility with other packages. So just imagine like you are doing a major release for the webpack, and you have to make sure that you are back compatible and you do not break other versions or maybe some other packages. But you have to publish it and you have to run your integration test. But if you do not have a private registry, it's very hard. And nowadays, like we work with really complex applications, and which is like composed with dozens or thousands of dependencies, and we can observe in the following graph that your application code is very minimal, and the your application code is like very huge, but the code which have you written is like very minimal, and it's a very small piece of site. And if you check your webpack bundle, you are relying on many different external libraries which do not have written, and it's like a big portion of your application is coming from public registries. So hello, yeah, it's basically like 90% of the code in today's web apps from npm. Only the 3% code we write actually, and it is a really concern when like some public registry gets down or somebody removes the package. It can impact your business. Also, if like you are directly publishing to public registry, you have some sort of responsibilities. Like in this tweet, you can imagine if something happens to create a react app, and it has like 100,000 weekly downloads, and if something bad happens, it can put some businesses on risk. That's why it's very important to make sure that integration works before publishing to npm. And like in most of the nowadays, like we have this tendency of move fast, break things. So most of the time we do not write unit tests, but we have to make sure that we write integration tests, and we ensure a backward compatibility with different versions or different packages in the javascript ecosystem. But the main question is like how can you write integration test for the packages which you are going to publish? And the answer is like you need a private registry which can simulate the real registry for you, and it can help you to write some integration tests. So we will cover some E2E test cases scenario using Verdaccio in later section. And the last most critical part is about security. So another possible bad scenario can be that npm has a two-factor authentication, but it's not enabled by default. So when you write some command like npm publish, and in a matter of second the package will be published to the public registry, and once on the internet, it's always on the internet. So you accidentally publish something, some private data or maybe some keys, you cannot put it down. And NPM also stated this thing in their blog, like when you publish something, it is replicated to many individual registries, and that registries are run by many people. And in like 2 3 seconds, it just all over the internet. So you can contact NPM support, and they will get back to you by like, hey, we can write some description in your package that don't use this package, or maybe this package contains something vulnerable, but they cannot do much. The last thing, the last problem is like affordability or the pricing. So it depends like how much you are dependent on a private registry and how much things you are going to use. So like there are three types of alternative present in the market. The final choice like might depends on many variables on or use cases. So like the self-hosted registries are like you are going to host in your infrastructure. It can be a JFrog Artifactory, something, and the software as a service. It's like a NPM registry or GitHub package registry. So, but these registries are very expensive. Like if you are a very small startup or small company and you want to use JFrog Artifactory, you have to pay like $30,000 per year, and NPM also charges you like $7 per user per month, and you are only using it to make sure that you are running integration fine and you are publishing the right packages. So you can use some false alternatives. So I'm here to present Verdaccio. So I will suggest like you can use Verdaccio. It's kind of it's a free open source private registry. We also have a case study. So Sheet.js, it's a very small startup, and they are using Verdaccio in their infrastructure. So instead of paying $7 per user per month, they are using the Verdaccio private registry as a free, and they just have to run a DigitalOcean droplet. It just costs like $5 per month. So a quick recap to problems, like you can have a problems with the availability. Sometimes packages are not available. You do not have control, like how much code you are downloading or what you are going to publish. And when you do npm publish, it's always published, so you cannot put it down. You have problems with the security, and sometimes the affordability, like prices are very high. And some registries, they have a variable pricing, so if you are highly dependent on them, they will change in future and say, hey, now we are going to increase your billing. In some factor, latency can be an issue. Like if you are using registries in the pipelines, and you do not have a private registry, so every time it's going to talk to NPM. And if NPM is down, then your pipeline cannot work very well. And there can be some firewall issues. Like if you are living in China and sometimes you do not have access to NPM and some few services. So we have a solution for this, and it's a Verdaccio. So now I will invite Juan to talk about the solutions which can solve some of our problems.
Thank you, Ayush. Awesome speech. Okay. Okay. My name is Juan. I've been working in Verdaccio since 2016, just as a hobby because I wanna learn some Node.js, and I got jealous with the history of Norbert, so I added some slides. Hopefully, we have time. And this is how everything started. Like Pia mentioned, there are a lot of pressure in maintainers, and a few years ago, I don't know who knows Sinopia project, but it was the president of Verdaccio. The author basically just dropped the idea. He didn't want to continue the project. He didn't give the ownership to anyone, and there was a lot of users actually using the project. This thread is pure gold. You can read a lot of things here, and this is how I get into the project, because actually I installed Sinopia in my company, and then I realized that it was dead. So I felt guilty, so I tried to fix the problems in open source, and this is how I get into the project. And so someone was wondering, so how we name this project now? So how we rename it so someone can, because there was a couple of forks in Verdaccio, and someone decided, okay, let's name it Verdaccio. So it's similar to Sinopia. And then a group of maintainers, so in this case contributors, because it was kind of randomly, they started to patch the project, and then is when the pressure came again, and someone decided like, hey, this is dead again. There is no response. Even this is my first comment when I said like, hey, come on, we are working on it. Just be calm. People have life or something. So I decided to work more actively in the project. And a few months later, I just got this email. Like he's saying like, Norbert, hey Juan, the other owner is not responsive, so do you want this? And you go, okay, let's do it. I mean, I'm willing to work on this, and it's really amazing. In that time, in February of 2017, we had only around 2,000 stars and few downloads. And 2 years later, I reply in the same thread. And someone was there was like I say, the thread is pure gold. Even there's uh, people was commenting like the previous author dropped the idea because it was hired by Node.js Foundation or something like that. I mean, it's so hilarious. You can read there. And then I reply like, hey, I'm still alive. We are working on this, and we don't have gazillion dollars in our pockets. So, and this is continue. This is open source. We want to work with this. So the long story short, I wrote this blog post because people think I'm an author of the project, but I'm not. I'm just a contributor. Perhaps the longest one, and I'm still working on this. But you can read more about on how I just get into the project and other maintainers, what's the governance we have, how we found it, and what's the objective of the project. So what's Verdaccio? That's we are here. Um, I try to divide this in different steps. So first of all, it's a private registry. It's lightweight. It's really small. It's a couple of megabytes. You can install it in everywhere. It's just a Node.js package. Um, it's also proxy because we wanna allow to the users to fetch from different registries. So Verdaccio, it does fetch packages wherever you want, and we'll see in the next slide how to do it. It catch packages because Verdaccio is offline mode, not by default, but you can just, I will try to show in the demo how to do it, but as long as you have everything cached, everything works fine. So I have an interesting story about this one because I got a message from someone in the United States because they want to use Verdaccio in really offline mode. I asked him, why do you want to use, there is no way to have internet, and he replied me, sorry, but there is no internet impressions. We want to teach Node.js impressions. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So it was really really nice to get this feedback, and actually we wanna push the idea, yes, Verdaccio can work completely offline, and all the NPM commands are valid with if you're offline. The configuration is optional. There is a default, which is pretty much works for everybody, but you can actually update it and customize for your own objective. We have plugins. We are working on this since Sinopia. There was plugins, but we added few more options. And in the next, I think the 2020, we want to improve this because we have a lot of feedback, and we listen the community, but also community has a really big point on this one. We have a web user interface because I don't know whether you're using Nexus or JFrog Artifactory is not really really nice. So it's we want to work on this, and I will show you how it looks like. And the most important thing is MTA license because we want Verdaccio free and open ever. So that's our model, and we want to keep telling that. So install Verdaccio is really simple. Just npm install global. just like that. That's all you need. And then you run Verdaccio command, super simple. We'll see in the demo. And if you are a wild developer, you want to try the last features, you can use the next tag. So when we start to work in the next version, which is going to be usually in January and February, you can just try yourself if you want. And yes, we try to keep Verdaccio the same roadmap of Node.js foundation. So if they drop Node 8, we drop Node 8. So for now, Node 8 is the minimum version we can use. Docker. Yeah, Docker is nice. I don't know anything of Docker 1 year ago. I had to learn because community was pushing a lot how to use Docker. And I have to say, and this comes again, the pressure of, we have more than 6 million of downloads this year only in via Docker. It's not the same numbers in NPM, but it's awesome how much people use Docker. And I had to learn Docker, by the way. So we have plenty of examples in this repo, how to integrate with proxy in different ways. So I created this repository because I was being asked so often. So the best way to answer a question is just create documentation. It works pretty well. So as a private registry, the most important thing is you've had the full control of it. And if, for instance, in NPM.js, you can use only private packages if are scoped. But in Verdaccio, you can publish whatever you want. It does not has to be scoped. So if you want to override Webpack or Storybook, you can do it. Even if the names collide with any of the remotes. So you can actually use publish force, which is not something useful with NPM.js and it's really nice. And also you can control the access, the published and unpublished packages. So you have full control of it. Just a side note, Verdaccio does not publish in any public repository. When you publish, actually, it's completely local, private. So no worry. I get this question all the time, so I just want to make sure everybody understand we don't publish anywhere. So scopes. Yeah, when you're with other registries, usually this is the npm rc file where you define the registry, and like I said, only allows you to fetch from one registry. But there is a small hack, I will say. You can use scope packages to point to different registries. But when you have credentials, so if the private registry is under some authentication layer, then you need to do this, and it's not nice because I don't know, a few years ago, if you remember, Found Awesome was promoting this practice, and they ended up users publishing credentials to GitHub. Yeah, it was funny, but they have to redo the documentation. So we don't like this approach, and this is hard to maintain because if you have several registries, it's not really nice. It's insecure. For testing, we have applinks, and applinks basically is you keep all the configuration in the server side, so that you don't have to spread credentials all over your computers in your company, or it's in one single place. And here I can explain a little bit. For instance, I defined in my Verdaccio server, I want to fetch Webpack for npm.js, but for some reason, I want to fetch Vue.js from Jan, which is just a demonstration purpose. And then I decided, I'm deciding to fetch TypeScript for my own private registry. And I can do that via Verdaccio. And you don't have to set up anything in the developer computers. Everything happens in the server side. In this, I created this example thinking okay, perhaps there is a bug in TypeScript. I will fix this bug in my organization. I will use this patch. So my developers, they won't see the difference until TypeScript decide to patch this version. They will use my own version. And this is the powerful of applinks. You can set up as much uplink you want. So this is how it looks like in the configuration. Here I have an example of Gemfuri, JFrog, Nexus. You can define authentications. Everything happens in the config file. And if you want to be really secure, you can use environment variables as well. This is really handy for CI servers. So in the demo, I will show how this looks like. Storage. By default, Verdaccio is file system based, but you can use the cloud because by default, it does not scale. But we, in the version 3 of Verdaccio, we decided to create the storage API. So you can create your own plugins. And this is an example of someone created a plugin for Amazon S3. And this has been worked really well. In the Docker examples folder, we have a full example of this plugin working if you want to check it out. And it's really nice. I don't remember, it's kind of local S3 bucket server I use there. It's really nice. And this is our user interface. We work with React, TypeScript, and Material UI. This is the last generation of our UI. We want to display as much information as useful for the developer, like dependencies, dependencies, optional dependencies, which NPM version you have to use. Even you can download the variables directly from. And we don't want to make distinction between package managers, so we added all of them, even PNPM, and you can just copy and paste the commands. So easily, and also we display the face of maintainers. So because why not? We need to be popular somehow. Plugins. Perhaps the most important plugins are GitLab authentication. I think it's the most popular one. Google Cloud, LDAP, Bitbucket. So you can create your own plugin as well. We are working on documentation, how to improve this. We just migrated everything to TypeScript. So with types, you get even more information, and it's much easier to create plugins. But this is the mission we have for the next year, is to create a new generator. So you can easily create your plugin and just share it with the community. And let me tell you, the last 3 months, we have really nice plugins. It's amazing how the community is working on it. End-to-end testing. This is a trending topic for Verdaccio. I would say the most important for this year. And if you're using monorepos, you can more or less understand how painful it might be to publish in NPM.js and suddenly in the middle of the publish fails everything because I did some mistake and merged something, or because something related with the stack. And there's something really funny I found in Twitter. The co-creator of Ionic, he was updating the build scripts. In order to don't make a mistake, he turned it off the Wi-Fi because he didn't want to publish to NPM.js. And then someone suggested him, yeah, you should use Verdaccio instead because, come on, man, you don't have to turn off the Wi-Fi. And then I just realized yesterday, Manu Almeida, he's worked for Vue CLI. Vue, I think Vue core member, and they were trying to integrate Verdaccio in Vue, so in the CLI, because they wanna tackling the issue that I just was explaining. Is they want to be sure what they're shipping to the user is safe. They don't want to, because you feel responsible what you're shipping in if you have a project, so you want to be sure. And this is, sorry, I didn't add the storybook, but I want to focus on end-to-end testing because I have a talk with Norbert. This is all the projects are using, there are more, but this is perhaps the most important one. They're using Verdaccio for end-to-end testing. And all of them, they had issues in the past and different sort of pains. The last one to integrate Verdaccio was Babel.js, like 2 weeks ago. And actually, they made some mistakes in publishing, and Babel has like 1.5 million downloads per week. So a little mistake in Babel can create a lot of headache to everyone. So also Gapsi, Create React App was the first one to use Verdaccio in this, and also Angular CLI are using Verdaccio for end-to-end testing. If you see the continuous iteration, it takes like 30 minutes, so they take seriously the testing. Speaking in Berlin, 10th of December, I want to tackle this topic of end-to-end testing. I will write an article, I'm working on it. So I want to share with the community how the best practices for protect your project to ship something to the registry, and using Verdaccio. So hopefully it's recorded. Otherwise, I will share it in Twitter account. You can keep in touch with us. We have a chat in Discord. We are not all the time there because in Verdaccio nobody is working full time. We have our daily job, and time on time we can help people and reply them. Also, we have Open Collective account. It works really well. Thank you, Pia, for that. We can pay our $5 servers. Thanks for Open Collective. I'm the community manager of Verdaccio, so yeah, that's me behind of that. And GitHub, so because we want to build a community, and otherwise, like Pia mentioned, also I talked with Robert before, without community there is no project, and this is the most important thing for us. Here we have Priscilla. Priscilla is one of the core member teams. She lives in Vienna, and we talked in Vienna early this year about Verdaccio. And when someone talks about Verdaccio or us, any of us, we post all the talks in the website, so you can watch them. Even we have one in Russian. So, and yes, this is Verdaccio. Do we have time for demo? Yes, thank you. It's gonna be fast. Oh no, thanks, not yet. Okay.
Can we mirror it?
Okay, you have to mirror.
Here it's running, so you can go
Okay.
to.
You can see it?
Yeah.
Oh, no. So you can see it. Let me increase this. So,
Can you go to browser?
okay, this is some dummy package I created. And this is the metadata. Usual package.json if you're familiar with packages, nothing fancy. So remember that is really simple. It's
Can you go to browser? Just show the registry is running.
no, it's not running. So I will remember that. It's just like that. Super simple.
It's already running.
Sorry, that's my fault.
It's already running.
Only Tobias can do live coding without fails. Okay, that's all. That's Verdaccio. Just running. Super easy. So we can check in the browser whether it's running. This is the usual port we use, and this is how it looks like the UI. So we have already some packages in our storage. You can navigate on them. You can access the dependencies, dev dependencies. In this case, we don't have optional dependencies, but you can browse even the versions if you want, and you want to see different versions. You can access them, download them, and yeah, we display usual information for each packages. So even you can search. We have Webpack? Yes, we have Webpack. Okay. So it's really easy to use the UI. So first of all, you need to be logged in. The configuration file, it's a YAML. Let me make a small poll. Who likes YAML? It's okay. Who does not like YAML? Okay, so 50-50, it's fine. I mean, YAML was legacy from Sinopia, so we didn't want to change it because it works really well. So the configuration file, it's really simple. We define where is the storage. Hopefully you can see it well. We have some settings for the web. For instance, you can set your own title, your own logo, if you want to display your avatar or not, because by default it's enabled. But if you are working offline, you don't want to, you can actually cannot access to this. In this part of the authentication is where you define which plugin you want to use. For instance, if you have a fancy plugin like my fancy plugin, then you can define some properties here, and that's all. It's super simple to use a plugin in this case. In this case, we have HTTP access, which basically is just the traditional HTTP pass by Apache. So that's the one we use by default. Also, is file by system. We introduced in Verdaccio 4 this new JSON Web Token, because by default, if you don't know, NPM tokens never expire. And we want to be more secure in this case, and we want to release on the community, we decide to add JSON Web Tokens, and you have the ability to expire them for security. The web by default it uses JSON Web Token, but that's fine. It's not that insecure. To add more app links, you need to only add a new section here, and that's all. In this case, you are asking the Verdaccio server, and you export it to Verdaccio. The package access, the package section is where you define where to send requests and who can access to them. For instance, by default, this is the default configuration. All the scope packages, in this case, everybody can access to them, but only the authentication users can publish, and only authentications they can unpublish. When the package is not in the cache, we are telling to Verdaccio, hey, go to npm.js and grab this package. But if I don't want to go there, I just change the proxy. Verdaccio is gonna fetch from the Verdaccio server. But if you're not sure where is the package, you can do this. Oops. And Verdaccio is gonna look up first in Verdaccio and then in the npm.js app link. So you can add as much. This is really handy if you have a private network in your organization and you don't know exactly where is the package, so you can look up there. You can add. We have different sort of permissions. So anonymous, if you want to, you don't need to log in at all. You don't need token. You can allow anyone to log in. If you are testing and you don't want to deal with logins, you can use this group. Or if you want to go completely offline, you need to remove the proxy, and Verdaccio is going to serve only what you have in the cache, and that's all. And this is more or less what is using, what is doing NPM, and also Yarn version 2 is looking into this and how to. They have already a storage filled, and they use it for acceptance testing. So we have middleware middleware plugins. By default, we use the audit because we support audit as well. Basically, we route the request to the npm.js because it's a private service, so we cannot actually mark it. And this is how the configuration looks like. So if we're gonna log in the server. This is how you log in. Basically, we can see the response in the server. Wow. What's happening here? Yeah, sorry. The port is incorrect. Thank you. Okay, so I have already a user. So, but actually it does not require email, but NPM tool requires for that. So just can type whatever you want. We cannot avoid that, unfortunately. And you are logged in. The server reacts to that, and the user is already there. So basically, just return the token and create a new token, and you are logged in. So I will publish my package. That's all. It's published. So I will find it in my UI. Here's my package. It's so easy. So you can actually modify the package access if you want. And let's imagine I want to install Webpack, but I want to force the user to be logged. And I will restart Verdaccio because I have to. Oops. I will install Webpack. Oh, so to Verdaccio. Oh, sorry, it's not running. No, what is running?
You are already using it.
Here.
Close the tab.
Because I want you to see the log. Okay. No, I want to. I'm lazy, so I will copy and paste. In this case, it fails. Oh, because we have some cache already. Okay, something's failing. Anyway, I think we have not much time. But yeah, that's more like the idea. You have the full control of the access, the packages, and you can decide whether you want to be offline, who access to that, who doesn't access to that.
Remove the proxy from the.
That's true.
Yeah, and then you went to in the offline mode, and we do not have cache already.
The thing is,
I just installed
I
it.
need empty storage because otherwise, because we have a pre-filled storage, so it won't work my demo if. So now I want to install. So authorize because I don't want anyone access to the. And this is really useful if you have a Verdaccio running online. Like many companies, they have public Verdaccio. They can access. They can actually forbid anyone to access to the registry without paying. So it's just that, really simple. And so, okay. Thanks so much. And that's Verdaccio.
Thank you.
Time for one question?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So in Yarn, you've got lock files, and I think NPM has got a lock file now as well. That usually has like the URLs in it. So when you proxy using Verdaccio and you install with a lock file, what URL appears in the lock file, and does it change when it like it falls through to the other proxy like you showed?
In the log file actually is the node package manager which actually define the URL. It is. Can we? Do we have an example of log file? No, we don't have. Actually, it's the package manager we define this. But this might be different behavior between NPM JS and Yarn. NPM relies on what do you have in the NPM RC file. So if you have a registry defined there, he's gonna ignore this field, and he's gonna fetch tarball from what we have defined. I mean, just cross the finger that tarball is there, but this is how they do it. Yarn is more strict. Yarn, it does not. It just follow what it is in the log file, and the same thing it does PNPM.
And when you're regenerating the lock file, does the URL change to like your local or to your first upstream or your second?
No,
proxy?
it's just the registry you are hitting with the node
Okay,
package
the actual
manager.
hit. Okay.
The package manager and Verdaccio, they don't speak with each other because all the requests are completely independent. So, for instance, when you're installing, also we have some stats from where installing the source code of Webpack. Actually, that you are doing like 1,600 requests only for installed Webpack,
Uh-huh.
and it's front end is crazy. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions for? We have stickers. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you. So, who feels like a break? Not so many people. Interesting. Okay, then we can just continue. No, I would propose that we take a little bit more time, 15 to 20 minutes. There is going to be a colleague in front of the cinema in a few moments who can, if you want to, give you a tour of the campus, which is pretty cool. I recommend taking the tour. Otherwise, just relax and we'll meet again in 20 minutes, 17:20.